Hey guys, what's up? So here, it's a really nice day outside, so I'm sitting out on the porch and I'm wearing a hat because today's laundry day. So I haven't taken a shower or anything yet, so it's an easy way not to have to deal with the hair. So today I'm having a great day. There's actually nobody at the house. I'm by myself for once, and I've been enjoying myself by having all the windows open, enjoying the fresh air, and then having the living room to myself. So I've been playing the Super Nintendo Classic all day and there's a couple things I'm going to talk about that I don't think deserve like whole high production videos on their own, but we're going to talk about them here. And this is what I was talking about. Like, you guys are going to start seeing just low production, just like literally this whole thing's going to be shot, edited, and uploaded off of my phone. So that's pretty much what you're looking at there. So we're going to go inside, we're going to check it out real quick, and show you guys what I'm talking about. Okay, this is one of the things I was talking about that I wanted to talk about today is this. I just didn't think it deserved a whole video on its own. But as you guys might have seen on social media, I picked up a new controller for the Super Nintendo Classic. With the Super Nintendo Classic being out there and it had been available, from my understanding, the only places you can really widely pick it up anymore is pretty much the Nintendo store in New York still has quite a few to sell. But things like this are floating out there. I've seen quite a few aftermarket controllers. This one is the only wireless controller officially licensed by Nintendo. And I would say the better out of the two is still the 8-bit controller, which looks just like a NES controller. I have a review on it. I'll put a bubble sooner or later up so you guys can see it there. Or you can just search in the library and find it. It's not too far back. But the idea of this thing actually released back in Japan in the 1990s. It did not come to the US like a lot of people think it did, hence the multicolored buttons. But with the SNES Classic, just like with Star Fox 2 never being released, over here never being released was this controller. It was originally a wired controller. They made it wireless. And it does take double A's, so it's not rechargeable like the 8-bit though. But it works really, really well. I've been using it for a couple days now. I've been streaming games like Metroid Prime with it, and it works fantastically well. I'm really happy with it. All the turbos work the way they should. I've had no problem. So if you see one of these for $20, and like right now, I'm streaming from that distance right there. There we go. So I'm about, I would say, 12 feet away from the TV. And it's working great. It hasn't hiccuped or anything like that. It's just 2.4 gigahertz wireless. You can only use it with the classic systems or the like the devices like the Wii or the Wii U to actually have the same connector. But other than that, it's great. If you want a little bit more flexibility, like you want to be able to use a wireless controller with a phone that's like a SNES, then that's where you would go with the 8-bit though. But there's another thing I want to talk about today. We all have that game, right? We all have that game that when we grew up and when we were kids and we were playing it and we were just like, we loved it. Everybody else didn't like it, but it was just super awesome to us. Thankfully, my game of shame is not that terrible. It's Stunt Race FX. I'm going to explain a little bit here. Basically, the reason I like the game is I like the look of the FX games because them being like very solid. I like the early 3D. It was like very solid, just solid colored blocks put together, very low texture stuff. I think like a lot of early games with textures and all that don't like on the PlayStation don't look or hold up very well. I think that's much better going from PS2 on up. But so a lot of those older games, I have a hard time going back to them on the PS1. The N64 not so much because it had an actual GPU that could pull that kind of stuff off way better. But yeah, so when I got the Super Nintendo Classic, or when it got announced even, I was a little bit disappointed that Stunt Race FX wasn't announced on it. And I was like, oh, because I got excited because they announced They announced Star Fox 2 and Yoshi's Island. And those haven't ever been released by Nintendo officially on the Virtual Console. This is the only way you can get them. You could also get it, obviously, on Super Nintendo and stuff, and I'm not talking about that. If that's the way, if you're getting a Super NT or that's like your best way to play it on a Super NT or a Super Nintendo with some like, what is it, like the retro cables? There's a company that makes RGB cables for the Super Nintendo, and you can just plug that into like a OSS or a FrameMeister and upscale it that way if you want to spend that kind of money for it. But I've always been looking for a way to easily play Nintendo games and not spend a whole lot of money. And this Super Nintendo Classic's been an awesome way to do that. So one of the things I've noticed with Nintendo and the Virtual Console over the years is it seems like when they build their emulator, they do like an all-around emulator. They look at all the games that they're trying to emulate, and then they build it all into the emulator at once. Where it seems like with some emulators out there for PC, they do it on a game-by-game basis. So even though in a game like Stunt Race FX runs technically on the same hardware as Star Fox, it doesn't run anywhere near as well. And I've having thought that and knowing that with the way the Virtual Console worked, I decided to put it on here, and lo and behold, there is like one graphical glitch at the select screen, but the sound, the FX emulation, and everything's pretty spot on. There has been proof shown that the FX games run slightly faster on the Classic than they do, but you can't tell unless you're like putting them side by side, so it's not a detriment. It's just like a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. It's not even really noticeable. So, the Classics just amaze me how well the emulation and stuff is. Besides that, and like some of the higher tone stuff being a little bit higher pitched, it's been pretty spot on. I've been pretty happy with it. So we're going to go in. I'm just going to show some of it playing off my TV, and you guys can see for yourself how well Stunt Race FX is working. And on top of that, I'll be using the new controller with it, so you can get an idea. If I have any kind of issues, you'll see it there, but I haven't since I've gotten the thing. And it wasn't a bad purchase for $20. So anyways, let's go in. Let's go have some fun for a few minutes. I will put some Elgato capture of it in a separate video for people that are interested, and now we'll go back to this video. But anyways, yeah. Okay, so on this part I usually see this is where I start seeing graphical glitches really bad. It still happens here. This is the only place I've been able to find it in the game. But other than that, it runs pretty well. Okay, another thing I wanted to point out is right here on the pause screen. This little 2D asset that pops up. A lot of times this is also a graphical glitch on top of the countless audio issues and stuff that this seems to have in other emulation. Well, I thank you guys for going on this little journey to the past with me. I love having the Super Nintendo Classic. I love being able to share games with you. I stream this thing every once in a while. I'm going to be streaming it in tonight, sometime after 5. Pacific Standard Time. It's going to be Super Metroid. I'm slowly going through that, but I may stream some Stunt Race FX now that it's on the machine and it's running as well as it is. If you guys have any memories of games that maybe you're slightly ashamed that you liked, but you'd like to share down below, I'd love to hear those stories. I love sharing stories like that and gamer stories. It brings up really good memories of the past for me, and I love hearing other people's past stories about childhood games and maybe things from their video gaming history that gives them like the good feels and stuff like that. So if you guys like this video, be sure to do a thumbs up. I appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe and the little bell right there, because that's what we have to do on YouTube now to be relevant. Anyways, whatever. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great day. I hope to see you guys in the next videos, and bye.